From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Our top story tonight. In the past 24 hours, Israeli airstrikes have killed 196 people and wounded 499, while many remain trapped under the rubble of destroyed buildings. The Israeli army targeted al-Najjar and Miqdad families, resulting in further casualties, including children. Journalist Abdul Karim Ouda also died in air raids. Israel has also confirmed the deaths of 10 of its soldiers, including a senior colonel, Ishaq ben Basat, who was killed in an ambush in Gaza's Shajaya neighborhood. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have detained the entire staff of Kamal Adwan Hospital and opened fire on civilians sheltering there, injuring 5. The total Palestinian death toll since October 7th has reached 18,412, with Israeli reporting 1,147 casualties. Qatar's foreign ministry has expressed strong disapproval of Israel's decision to confiscate Palestinian-owned land in Silwan, East Jerusalem. The lands are being seized for the construction of a cable car connecting the area to Abu Tor in West Jerusalem via the Old City. In a statement, Qatar says the move is a blatant violation of international law and UNESCO resolutions. It has urged the UN Security Council to intervene and prevent Israel from altering the historical and legal status of Jerusalem. Meanwhile, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is traveling to Israel to meet with Israeli leaders amid President Biden's criticism of Israel's actions in Gaza. Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin is also scheduled to visit Israel in the coming week. The UN General Assembly has adopted a resolution urging an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. Presented by Egypt and backed by nearly 100 countries, the resolution received 153 votes in favor during an emergency special session on Palestine. However, 10 countries, including the US, Israel, and Austria, voted against it. Another 23 countries, including the UK, Germany, Italy, and Ukraine, abstained. Canada, breaking away from the US, however, voted for a ceasefire. The resolution stressed the need to protect both Palestinian and Israeli civilians in line with international humanitarian law. It is urging all parties to adhere to their obligations under international law. It is also calling for the immediate release of all prisoners and ensuring humanitarian access. UN General Assembly resolutions, while not legally binding, carry significant political weight. Israeli soldiers have bombed a United Nations school in Gaza. In a video footage, Israeli military personnel are seen detonating the building in the city of Beit Hanun in northern Gaza. Soldiers are heard cheering in the video's background. Israel claims the school was being used as a Hamas outpost. UN schools and structures have become targets for Israel in the ongoing attacks. This is the case even if they are being used as shelters for thousands of displaced Palestinians. 140 interns and fellows on Capitol Hill are condemning senior staff and congresspeople for stifling the calls for a ceasefire in Gaza. This was in a letter made public on Tuesday. It reads, "While we refrain from telling our bosses how to do their jobs, as congressional interns and fellows, we owe it to the American people to expose the patent malpractice of Congress." The interns shared that a staggering 700,000 calls, letters, and voice messages demanding a permanent ceasefire in Gaza have flooded 70 out of 435 congressional offices. They stress that the surge in public sentiment has been impossible to ignore. The pro-Israel lobby in the U.S. has been attempting to silence debate on Palestinian rights in American universities. The groups have, among other tactics, labeled students supporting Palestine as anti-Semitic and called for putting them on employment blacklists. Wealthy donors like Bill Ackman have called for the release of the names of individuals supporting Palestinian solidarity, thereby potentially impacting their future employment prospects. The Anti-Defamation League is also pressuring universities to investigate student organizations for alleged material support for terrorism as punishment for their support of the Palestinian cause. Their goal, according to critics, is to stifle free speech, even as Israel's actions lead to the deaths of thousands, as well as war crimes and crimes against humanity in international law. In a recent hearing, Congresswoman Elsie Stefanik grilled University of Pennsylvania President Liz McGill, as well as presidents of Harvard and MIT. This was over their response to alleged anti-Semitism on their campuses. McGill announced her resignation following the hearing. Jewish settlers storm Al-Aqsa Mosque again. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Welcome back. Scores of Israeli settlers forced their way into Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in occupied East Jerusalem on Tuesday to celebrate the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. Extremist Jewish groups have been raiding the Al-Aqsa Mosque complex, accompanied by the police since 2003. These radical groups, which call the area the Temple Mount, encourage Israelis to raid Islam's third holiest site to perform religious rituals, accompanied by calls to build a Jewish temple there. Israeli forces have imposed restrictions on Muslims entering Al-Aqsa Mosque since October, when they launched a massive military campaign against Gaza. Israel occupied East Jerusalem, where Al-Aqsa Mosque is located, during the 1967 Arab-Israeli War. It annexed the entire city in 1980, a move never recognized by the international community. Meanwhile, Israeli settlers in the West Bank, particularly in the Al-Qana settlement, are angry at the U.S. announcement of a travel ban on those committing violence against Palestinians. Israel is threatening to use force in dealing with Houthi rebels in Yemen amid threats against ships sailing to Israeli ports. Spokesman for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Officer Gendelman, says these attacks pose a threat to international trade and Israel, and this threat will not be dealt without force. Earlier Tuesday, Houthi rebels claimed responsibility for a drone attack on a Norwegian-flagged oil tanker off Yemen's coast as it sailed to Israel. The U.S. military said an anti-ship cruise missile was fired from a Houthi-ruled area in Yemen against a commercial tanker vessel, causing fire and damage. No casualties were reported. A regional court in Indian-administered Kashmir has quashed the preventative detention of journalist Asif Sultan and ordered his immediate release. Justice Vinod Chatterjee Kaul of the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir region said procedural requirements were not followed by authorities while detaining him. Sultan was arrested on August 27, 2018 and booked under India's anti-terror law. He was accused of harboring known militants, which his family has vehemently denied. Sultan was granted bail last year but was soon booked under the Public Safety Act, for which a person is kept behind bars for up to 2 years without trial. Last month, the regional court ordered the release of journalist Fahad Shah and quashed the preventative detention of another journalist, Sajjad Gul. Thank you so much. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.